Welcome back and thank you for being with us. A week after the inauguration of the NSAS judicial panels across the country, Lagos State Judicial Panel of Inquiry began sitting to investigate the cases of police brutality in Lagos State. We have two lawyers in the house, legal practitioners, who are going to help us look at this issue. It's my pleasure to welcome Mr. Proverbs, Chima Naji. Good morning.
Alero.
And thank you.
When are you going to give me the certificate? Good morning, and it's my pleasure to be here.
I'm sure the viewers have missed you as well. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
We also have Tony Dania. Good morning. Where are your glasses?
Good morning.
Okay.
I only needed to drive.
Okay. Thank you for also joining us this morning.
Thank you very much.
Now, let me start by asking you, Mr. Naji, to your mind, what are the challenges of this panel? Or should I say these panels, because they're spread all over the country.
Yes. First and foremost, we have to understand the motivation for establishing these panels. On the part of government, there was need to douse the tension and appear to be addressing some of the grievances that informed the protest in the first instance. Granted that it had been widely accepted and indeed known that it was not the end-SARS protesters that derailed to the next level of carnage. There was a gap created by the process of governance that gave room, because you know nature abhors vacuum, for some people to cash in on that. But we can come into that later. To answer your question, these panels have a lot of challenges that will affront them in the course of the proceedings. One will be issue of jurisdiction. Yes, because
How so?
the reason I mentioned the issue of jurisdiction is that some of the entities that need to be investigated are federal agencies. And the law is very ossified in Nigeria, that where you have federal institutions involved in anything that has to do with legalism, it is the Federal High Court or the federal government that should have that supervening power. In the tribunals of inquiry, law of Lagos State, for example, there is an omnibus provision within the powers of the Lagos State governor in issuing the instrument establishing any tribunal. There is an omnibus provision that gives an impression that there is a general application to every entity within the state, whether federal or state. But we know it's not going to be very easy. We saw that the snippet of that yesterday, when the panel wanted to visit the locus in quo. That's one of the locus in the mortuary. The mortuary.
Military, at the military
belonging
hospital.
to the military. And of course, the military would not say that they were not aware that there was such a panel, or maybe they were not aware that the panel was going to come. Perhaps the panel adjourned in the public that tomorrow this was going to be part of our activities, as the judge said, the chairman of the panel. But they refused. If nothing else, to assert that authority, that they could not be controlled. But I thought that angle could be papered over politically. Okay, being that Lagos State is APC and federal government is controlled by APC. So they will go and do it as a family affair, and we can paper over that. So to that extent, it may not constitute a strong impediment. But that is one of the issues, one of the challenges. The other challenge is that what protection is afforded petitioners to this panel. We saw yesterday in media that some of the people who testified against the individuals that were incarcerated at Benin prison, who let loose, have killed one of those witnesses against them, or against him. I saw it in the media. Okay? So what is the security measure placed put in place to safeguard the lives of people who are likely? Because somebody, a policeman or anybody who may have victimized you, you know what happened on Monday can still happen on Thursday. This is Nigeria. The man who victimized you, if he's still alive, may have performed, perfected the process of victimization. He might now liquidate you so that you don't expose him. Because people hardly shoot in the open. No policeman shoots in the open. Very few instances. They can shoot in corners where the public view is not so focused.
Yes.
So if you want to expose them, you run the risk of losing your life. That is another one. The other one is that it is still subject. Okay.
Before you go too far, we'll let you know there are a lot of challenges I know that are coming up. But let's bring Mr. Daniel to weigh in on that bit about the challenges that these panels are likely to come in contact with. I mean, Mr. Naji has mentioned like 3 or 4 of them.
Yes. While I agree with my colleague, Mr. Naji, I just want to say that it's a pretentious approach to resolving issues that the system is fully aware of. Pretentious in the sense that, let's just do this to placate them. I mean, they will see us doing something. We've been talking here. This is the second time myself and Mr. Naji have appeared here. We talk about issues all the time. This government ignores. Every life is important, irrespective of the owner of the life. We are dancing around the issues. Now, can the panel of inquiry find out from the people who called hoodlums and criminals why they attacked the court? The system should know that even though that attack is condemned, we are condemning it. But it shows that the common and poor persons are losing confidence in the in the court. This is the first time there will be a protest and the court is touched. Can they come to the panel of inquiry? That's one. The panel should have power to take note of notorious facts and take note of things we have been talking about. The issue is not just the police. For God's sake, the police are also human beings. What we know at Lekki Tollgate was that there was an unprovoked attack against innocent protesters. Then the consequences of the attack became an issue. 100 people died, 20 people died, and all that. But the fact is that there was an attack. And the people attacked were innocent. And the attack was unprovoked, was improper. And that is enough to condemn the people that did the attack. We can now look at the casualties. But the casualties should not derail us from the primary fact that that attack was totally unnecessary. The panel will not be able to meet. Can the family of the bereaved, like my colleague said, some of them will not be able to bring petition to the panel. And the panel waits for you to bring petition.
Yes.
The panel should be able to. And by the way, the panel is likely to make recommendation. It has no judicial power to convict. It has no judicial power to try. It can listen, make inquiry, and make recommendation. Now, the primary references given to the panel is the EdSARS process, police brutalities, and all that. What we need is a total reformation of the Nigerian police and reformation of the military and all paramilitary agencies.
Now, Tony, you said the panel cannot
Convict.
Cannot convict.
Yes.
So what happens, for instance, we heard somebody saying that they took his house, they took his this, they took his that. And even though the court ruled that he was to be compensated, he wasn't compensated. So if they actually find that all the things he said, and I'm sure he's going to name somebody who did all those things to him, who beat him and plucked his teeth out and all that. If he names the person, what is the consequence of that to that person? Nothing?
The
panel
panel
cannot
will make recommendation on what is to be done.
Okay, so the person can then be tried in a proper court of law, right?
Yes, the person can be tried. The person can be compensated by the government. It depends on the recommendation the panel will give. You understand me? So, but the issues are issues we all know. If you don't follow the law, even though we are saying we need to amend the Constitution, but the Constitution as it is, are we complying with it? Are we following it? You have your fundamental rights. Are they being protected? Who are the ones that are supposed to protect this? The police will go wrong, the police will investigate the police. EFCC personnel will go wrong, EFCC will investigate. The military will go wrong, you go and call military police. We should establish an independent body to investigate most of this wrong. And we have been saying this. The problem is that the government refused to listen. If you create the enabling environment, things will move. The level of poverty in the country is so high. The dichotomy, the difference, the distance between the rich and the poor is so wide. And the fact that political appointment, election into public offices is now a business. You go there and you, for God's sake, the Nigerian is like my own, my company. I'm the MD, like the president. I wouldn't want to run at a loss. I want to make sure the staff are happy. I want to make sure directors are on their job. Why is it difficult to make things work in Nigeria? Nigeria is very easy to rule. You know why? Nigerians are very good at compliance. When you block up the toll gate, Third Mainland Bridge, people comply willingly. COVID-19 stay at home, people comply. BVM, you are prying to my privacy, people comply. We are doing water for ourselves. Every street, they talk about security. So we are already doing some of the things the government is supposed to do. So it makes it easy. The government need to just have the interest of the people at heart. Then things will work out. And then I want to quickly say that some of the things the panel will not also see is, for instance, without prejudice to the fact that we condemn police brutality, what can the police also come and make complaint? I saw a video where a police, I heard of the DPO that was killed. I saw a video of a policeman that was beaten, clubbed to death. Can they come and make arrangements? I think we also need to make a case for the police. The police must be reformed in such a way that senior officers don't shout out orders to the junior officers that will cause an abuse of the right of the citizens that they are supposed to protect.
Let me just add to the issue of recommendation, what can happen to that. Recommendations of the panel, when made, if there is no reasonable dissent, will be packaged and presented to the governor. And the governor, if he accepts any of such recommendation, under the law, will transmit such recommendations to the registrar of the High Court. And that recommendation becomes the judgment of that High Court that can be enforced. So you don't need to go to trial outside that recommendation. And again, under that law, there is no evidence given in that tribunal that can be used against anybody outside that tribunal. So that if somebody testified that you are a murderer, it cannot be used against you in any proceeding in this country. So the final recommendation that sees the approval of the governor is the one that can go to the registrar of a court. That is also where one of the challenges, because these recommendations, as factual and unbiased as they might be, will still be subject to certain political considerations because there is a final gatekeeper. It is unlike the one that can yield from a judicial process. And the tribunal law prohibits anything that has been transmitted to the registrar, made judgment of a court, to be subject to appeal or any review on prerogative grounds. So it's the final.
So the name Judicial Panel of Inquiry doesn't really help in any way.
Well, it helps because the head of such a panel is a judge.
Even though
Okay?
retired.
He's a judge. A judge is a judge, retired or serving. The retired is even that the wine gets better by age. Okay? So to that extent, there is a certain degree of decorum. Okay? Both at the bench and at the bar. So that even if a witness is being led by a counsel, the tribunal will be able to digest all the submissions, understand the issues being canvassed, and the processes under which they are being canvassed. But if you have an administrative panel, the application of the Evidence Act may be very limited. And when it is limited like that, one of the major attacks that we talk about human rights is unfair hearing. When you do not have the opportunity to express yourself, which is what the NSAS people are talking about. The policeman sees you on the road, he will not regard your ID card. Because when you show your ID card, you may be able to establish some guilt in him if he decides to attack you. So the person is to depersonalize you, dehumanize you, and present you in a manner that will fit the homunculus, what he thinks about a criminal. So these are some of the issues that when we talk about the tribunal is very important, like you say, what is the essence of that? Psychologically, everybody will be looking forward to the outcome. You saw even some retired soldiers that are speaking on television, they will say, let us wait. It helps you to also hide certain things that you probably would have been exposed if you were cornered in an interview on a television. You understand? Like you have a dustbin, you consign everything to the dustbin and wrap it up. At the end of this process, and the government looks at what came out of, or what comes out of this, the panel, knowing the power it still has, it might be in a position to still water down the grievances that have been expressed and canvassed in the
Mr. Nadri, Mr. Daniel May said he used pretentious. He used the word, and I think he used it advisedly, pretentious approach to covering up things that should have been looked at over time. Now, these panels are practically in almost all the states in the South and in the Middle Belt. Are we not seeing any hope that these panels might help to concretize issues so that the political class will know that these things matter and should be looked at real quick?
Well, I made a veiled statement that looked like his own, only that I came short of using the word pretense.
Yes, that's true.
Pretense has to do with a spirited attempt to cajole. Some of these things are things that have been done over years. Anybody who is experienced in the governance process in Nigeria knows that we've been doing the same thing all over and over. So you know the reaction of police if you say there is a crime. They will arrest everybody, pack everybody, go and keep them, then you begin to...
Filter them.
like these ones that are in the field. 400 and something arrested. One woman says she wanted to go and buy something for her and even brought some ethnic angle to it. But these are the issues we know very well in this country. Governments do the same thing that the previous ones did, even if they condemned it when they were campaigning, necessarily because some of them know better. So I will not use that pretentious, because some of them don't know better. You pretend when you know something, but you decide to do otherwise and present a facade that gives the impression that you are on with those people. Now, you can see the frenetic manner some of these things were formed. Okay, the tribunals already have terms of references. You just lift the term from the law. Then people will be battling. It's just like those people who say that sailors to settle mermaids in the ocean and allow them to carry their consignment, they drop small sweets and hot drinks. While they are battling on how to share it, the sailor takes the ship away and is entitled to his pay. So the point I'm making is that these panels, things that are nice will come out of them, but they may not go deep enough, like Daniel said. The issue, like for example, the first victim, or the first, petitioner, yes, in Lagos here, said he was awarded 10 million naira. And you saw the story. You know, words don't normally express everything. If they hang you with a belt, how do you explain the velocity of the blood that was rushing into your brain? And how much contusion? You can only say contusion. And somebody who understands the word will say, okay, there was contusion. You understand? Just like when you say somebody is poor, there are gradations of poverty. How do you describe that somebody for 3 days did not eat? That is not poverty. People fast. But the hopelessness, that even after that 3 days, you will still not be able to see food, that's the one that kills. Do you understand what I mean? So sometimes words are incapable of expressing feelings or realities. But then there are contraptions made for us to be able to at least try. So that man with his 10 million naira, which is no longer of the same value. I don't know how they are going to value it, even if they are going to insist that the 10 million naira be paid. Naira has taken a lot of battering and beatings, okay? So maybe that 10 million naira now is about 25% of what it used to be then, given the parity of dollar. So there should be some good, necessarily, but it will not go deep because we have left the turtle's leg. If I want to give Alero what she wanted. The turtle's leg is in the water, and you are there to pick it. You left it, and you have gone for taproot. The turtle will necessarily go away and come back to the same place to cause any havoc that it had wanted to do. So the government is only showing the damages done everywhere, which is completely insensitive. It is people that made those properties. As much as damages may have been so injurious and perhaps condemnable, but something made that event happen. Who ordered the killings? Something in the causal chain, okay? You don't go for reaction, you go for the action first. Because action and reaction are equal and opposite, for those who know physics. So the truth of the matter is that because government has the power of coercion and dominance, they are trying to dominate the media space. Thank God for the variegated media system we now have. Otherwise, if it was in the days of one of those major government television houses and one newspaper, then we would have bought into the narrative that it was, in fact, those demonstrators that did everything. Okay. So the truth of the matter, including the shooting and everything, in fact, you saw that they were even pushing that it was not the military. That was even the greatest indictment. Because if in a sane society where there should be security and a particular grade of people will put themselves in uniform, come with gun, and boldly come in the face of everybody without any fear of any dire consequences. That is the greatest and grotesque indictment.
Okay, I wanted to say that there is a purpose for this inquiry. The unrest we had, the protests and all that. Now, there is a purpose. There's something informed that protest. And nobody should pretend that it's just only the brutality of police or SARS. It is dissatisfaction with governance. So the federal government and the state government should not make it look like, as they have been doing before, they should be sincere in solving the problem. And in solving this problem, good governance. Good governance. For example, because if you take problems individually, you will have issue. How many can you solve? Give a generic approach to resolving problems.
Okay, can you just hold your thoughts there? We'll pick it up from that point, the generic approach to resolving problems, but that will come back from this break. Do stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. Victor was sent in a tweet. He sent in 2 tweets already. One talking about the former governor I was talking about.
Okay.
But then he talked about this, said the UN recognized the hard work of a Nigerian policewoman. What this tells us, if people have an enabling environment, they will do the right thing. There must be real reforms in the police and in Nigeria. He says, not just end SARS. Mr. Daniel, you were talking about the
approach to resolving the issues we have. I started with what led to this whole thing. And then we've been talking about what we think should be done. And then I want to refer to the statement of Asiwaju, when he said the leaders of the protests will be engaged. Who are the leaders? I didn't see no leaders. And then no leader because people like us who would have voluntarily come to lead. By now, maybe I'll be detained in DSS office. And then that discouraged people coming out to coordinate the protest. And then rather what we saw was celebrities coming to do a jamboree. Check your flag, talk. Nobody was addressing the issue intellectually. Now, the federal government cannot pretend that they don't know the problem. They cannot. I am not in support of the carnage, the destruction and all that. I am not. But something led to it. One, government have refused to deliver on good governance to the people. Two,
sorry,
and they have openly...
Mr. Daniel, let me ask this question. When you say deliver good governance, there are those who are of the school of thought that the government has been trying. I mean, all manner of intervention processes have been put out there by government to ease the pain.
I agree that to some extent we are doing well in rice. I agree that we can do better in agri, but it is not bad. I am not saying they are not doing anything at all, but delivering on good governance, for instance, creating the enabling environment for people to develop themselves. For example, what does it take for us to have regular light in Nigeria? We've been on this lighting for so long. What they are doing is that when they get to government, they think of enriching themselves, enrich their cronies, enrich their family. What does it take to run the government? Okay, access to funds, made easy. Education, general policy, make it a national policy that you must complete secondary school, wherever you are, however it is. You understand? Those old days, it was only the Southwest that we have total free education. Why don't we have a national free education? Look at the difference between the South. The East, who are enterprising, if they had free education, when we have free education here, you can imagine where they would have gone to. You see Nigerians going out and excelling. What do they have out there that is making them to excel, that we cannot, establish here? If we establish them here, I want to quickly digress a little bit. I bought a land. Somebody was there. He said, I need a place where I have regular light. I'm researching, a Nigerian engineer, I'm researching on how to use fuses to generate electricity. The man has gone 80%. Do we have special training for technological? In China, when you are in primary school, they are teaching you how to do batteries and all that. We don't have that here. The policies the people are deliberately giving us short-term policies. And there is no sustainable arrangement for this policy to live beyond those that are giving them. And most of them, when they are doing this, they are doing it as if they are doing it for themselves. For example, look at governors that are saying, when I'm retired, pay me. They are thinking of themselves. They are not looking at the future. Why will I pay you? The man that have done 35 years, we are not paying them what you want to pay for 8 years that you have rolled. You understand? So and you see Nigerians are watching you. What we have was a spontaneous reaction to cumulative provocation, dissatisfaction, hearing billions and not seeing what it's meant for, seeing people that are accused of stealing billions and teaching us how to fence artificially, seeing a minister that has so much billions to work with, and the people investigating him is saying you are involved, and the chairman is saying keep quiet, don't talk.
Off your mic.
And we are watching them. You think the people are happy? Look at the court, for instance, that I referred to. You think I just saying they don't know that magistrates, some of them are corrupt, that the policemen that go there are corrupt, that people that are supposed to ordinarily walk away, you make them to go to prison. When they come, I think they'll be happy with you. Who is going to investigate it? Can the panel go to the hoodlum and ask them, why did you touch the court? I don't want to go to the traditional head of Lagos State. But it has never happened. Why did it happen? It has never happened. Oba Oyekon was there and the rest. Why didn't we experience this? Who will ask this question? The truth is that we are running away from the truth.
Mr. Naji. The panel is sitting. Both of you have talked about the outcome of this panel. When the outcome is presented to the governor, when the recommendations across the country, when the recommendations are presented to the governor, if he signs off on them and is handed over to a high court, it becomes a judgment of the court.
Yes.
You said so. But the matter of governance, who would determine that issue of good governance? Because a lot of people, apparently, different people have different definitions for good governance.
Well, looks like the Nigerian knows what good governance is, because Wanga Ubebe says the government should stop pursuing shadows. The issues with NSAS protests are not only about police brutality, but also about bad governance, social injustice, corruption, and so on. So these are all parts of bad governance.
Exactly. Bad governance, good governance. Okay, what's governance?
You know, you cannot scratch me where it does not itch. And I say thank you. Did I communicate? Thank you is a word you use when a good turn is done to you. When people in government, like he was talking about funds and all the programs and all that, is it trickling down? Good governance, when you bring it to the atomic level, means that there is greatest happiness for the greatest number within a particular polity. Spiritedly activated, not by accident, because accidents don't yield good results on a consistent basis. That means that the people at the driver's seat of that governance process must be knowledgeable. That's the issue of competence, because you can't give what you don't have. And our recruitment process in the political process is highly flawed. It's in fact more of charlatans these days. Those who don't have any business getting close to, but they shoot their way through. If it is service, you don't shoot. You tell people. I remember in those days there was a campaign Awo attended on his way to Calabar. He stopped over in Benin. And people were shouting, it was getting late. He told them, because apparently he knew that he was doing good to them, and they knew. The free education, I saw many professors. In the person of Awojobi in those days, he was like, if he didn't go to school, people would say that he was Awo's dog because of the spirited way he was supporting him. What was it? Because he felt that Awo was relevant in the lives of the people. Awo alighted from his helicopter and said, you people may not know that I am going to Calabar. I don't know. He had the guts to tell them because he knew he was relevant to their lives. Today's politician will dance around and pretend he was with them and share clothes and all that. But he told them, please, hold your dancing and all that. I have a message for you because I am busy. I want to go to Calabar. I don't know. I have not lost that in my head. That is what you should be arrogant of. Your service, if you want to serve. You tell the people, if you want me, I am here. But if you don't want me, I go back.
Fine.
You are the ones that will lose. But the one that has come to steal will shoot his way, bribe his way, do everything, all the shenanigans. So when you're talking about good governance, you can't give what you don't have. First, the man who is driving, can you enter a vehicle of a man who doesn't know how to drive and you want to go to Shagamu? If you have not written your will. It's not possible. So why do we pretend in one area of our life we want things done well, in another one we want confusion? Things don't work like that because nature is imbued in logic. Everything is interconnected. the logic is the same for every sphere of life. So if you want to go hungry, and you want your neighbor to also go hungry when there's food, you are breeding ceremony. There will be complaint. So good governance is ability of people who have been given in that social contract to take care of the majority, absolute majority, because the theory of democracy is that not everybody will be happy. But the absolute majority, not just majority, because majority starts from 50.000009. But absolute majority could inch up to even 89, 90-something%. So the issue about the argument of the NSAS people and government's veiled effort to keep it in the back seat and project the damage is not going to work. Because just as you run away from the gunpowder with fire, in the same manner you run away from the fire with gunpowder. Because the capacity of fire to be fire is already in it. And the capacity of gunpowder to be incendiary is already in it. So when these two come in together, they will do what they know best. So the point we're saying is that the NSAS protest and all its ramifications, because they just used the SARS issue as symbolic. Yeah. The only unfortunate thing was that people, like Daniel said, the issue of leadership, if it was very properly harnessed, nobody should have gone into the issue of asking the president to resign. As at that moment. You don't go hunting and look at your hunting mate and say your leg is like a squirrel. He now knows that he's likely to be a target. He can shoot you first. You understand what I mean? That was the problem. Regime protection came in. And the insensitivity of the institutions that protect regime overwhelmed the situation because they now saw the other people as wanting to change the regime. Yeah. And then the regime protection mode was activated.
Yes. Mr. Naji, you spoke about the good of the majority.
Absolute majority.
Now, I want to refer to the sheer numbers of those that we saw looting across the nation.
Yes.
It was like, I mean, whole towns of people. What does that say to you about the numbers of which you spoke?
That number, the ones that were captured.
Yes.
Because remember that the television cameras were not ready, waiting for people to come and loot. Some of them were captured by cameras, telephone cameras and all that. In such an instantaneous manner, with the object of the person shooting to take care of his or her own security or safety, as the case may be. The number is a signification of the grotesque level, abysmal level of governance that this country has been experiencing in a cumulative manner. Because, like I said, people in government, many of them are not in this place to offer anything because sometimes they don't have anything. And when you don't have anything, you look for something. You look for religion, you look for ethnicity, and you saw how these things were, they tried to contrive those primordial cleavages to water down or mask the issues on the table. And God veered us away from that. Because they thought if that had ignited, then their own sins would have been covered. Yeah. But by God's grace, the youth said no. And this is a signpost that tomorrow, the youths of today are better educated. True. They are better traveled. True. They are better exposed. They are well, in fact, miscegenation is a factor now. Intermarriages. The youth goes to London, he sees a girl, he doesn't even know where she comes from. You say you are a Nigerian, the next day they are in the registry. When they have children, are you going to tell those children that because you are Yoruba or because you are Igbo or because you are Hausa? Those children are children of marriages born out of love. And if that ethnic group wants to rise against the other one, you already have a saboteur. Therefore, people in government today, who ordinarily should be retiring anyway, should recede and know that tomorrow has become greater, or is going to be greater than today. Even that today is greater than yesterday, which many of them come from. A.C. Catherine said, I'm interested in tomorrow because that's where I intend to live. The young ones are looking forward to tomorrow and dusting today.
Yes.
Thank you.
Tony.
You see, one thing this protest have registered is that Nigerians can react. Federal government have seen that Nigerians can react.
In unison.
In unison. Without considering ethnic offspring, religion, sentiment, and all that. We can be united. And we can make a demand. Now, the people leading us should stop deceiving us. Look at the whole infrastructural facilities in Nigeria. Roads. Oh, Bola, go and fix that road in 9 months' time. Kehinde will come and do it. Don't worry. Just be patient. Kehinde, don't worry. Idowu or Shikudi. That's what they were doing. Show me one road that has been done since 1999 that has survived to date. When you build a road, the road is supposed to last so long. We don't have that. Then, with my small company, I know that if I save in the bank, COTs can be avoided if I have a small balance. I won't pay COT. I saw the declaration of COTs by the federal government. And I'm a citizen. Other people are saying this thing. They are not happy. When Boko Haram started, I was among the first to inquire how the improvised explosive devices can be jammed because it is by remote control and it is frequency. And we made inquiry. I know how much they sell. I don't want to go into certain details. I know how much they sell mobile jammer of frequency and stationary jammer. I know how much they said they bought it when the federal government were saying they bought it. I am not alone here. Other people might have attempted. And they will say, what? You are doing this openly. What you need to do, create lights, education, not just a temporary thing, generic thing, infrastructural facility, road, social facility. How many of these, our security operative lives are insured? My small office, my staff, their lives are insured. It doesn't cost much. It's just to take their annual salary and negotiate a percentage. It's no more than 5%. And that will give them morale. You understand me? So what the government need to do is to change. This panel of inquiries are cosmetic. Federal government knows the truth. They know what to do because there are persons there. I run my company. I wouldn't want my company to fall. I would like to exploit possible cheap quality method of keeping my company afloat.
Period.
No, but honestly...
Thank you very much, Mr. Daniel. That's where we have to leave it this morning. I mean, like, this is the nature of live television. We never seem to have enough time. The discussion just seems to be warming up, but I'm sorry we've run completely out of time. Mr. Tony Daniel and Mr. Chima Naji, both legal practitioners, thank you very much for coming to share your insights with us this morning. Sunrise will be right back with another interesting conversation. Make sure you join us.